Ya, 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 Modeani lefanecha ruach vegayam. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom to our regular chevre. Shabbat shalom to our wonderful Mitzvah family and all those joining us online. We're going to begin this wonderful Shabbat morning, a gorgeous and special Shabbat morning on page 103 in our prayer books, in our Siddurim. You'll notice on the right side of 103 there is the Hebrew prayers, which are traditional. On the left side are our English and even something called transliteration. It puts the Hebrew into English letters so you can follow along. I know some of you may be your first time here at Beth Meyer, first time in a synagogue. We're so glad to have you with us. We believe very profoundly in Judaism that God hears all prayer. It doesn't have to be all in Hebrew. That is our heritage and our inherited wisdom. So we will pray predominantly in Hebrew this morning in our prayers, but you should feel free to follow along in English. There are beautiful commentaries. Ultimately, the goal is to bring in your own heart. That's the ultimate goal. So I'll guide you kind of spiritually through the morning davening. It's beautiful, and it's thousands of years old. Tov. We rise together on page 103 for basic blessings of gratitude to the Holy One for simply being alive. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lesechvivina להבחין בין יום ובין לילה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בצלמו. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בן חורין. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם פוקח עיוורים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מלביש ערומים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מתיר אסורים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם זוקף כפופים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם רוקע הארץ על המים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המכין מצעדי גבר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשה לי כל צורכי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוזי ישראל בגבורה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוטר ישראל בתפארה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הנותן לאהב כוח. 122. ברוך שאמר והיה עולם ברוך הוא. ברוך עושה בראשית, ברוך עושה מקיים, ברוך מרחם סחטור, ברוך מלך העולם, רחם ממש. יחיד חעולמי מלך משובח ומפאר יד שמו הגדול. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מהולל בתשבחון. You may be seated. We turn to page 134. The intersection of our davening, which focuses on preparing our hearts, our souls for prayer. Special psalms from the back of the Hebrew Bible. Turn to page 134. There's a special psalm chanted just for Shabbat. Goes like this. Mizmor, mizmor, shir, shir liyom ha-Shabbat. Mizmor, mizmor, shir, shir liyom Yom HaShabbat. Mizmor, Mizmor, Shir. Shir Yom HaShabbat. Mizmor, Mizmor, Shir. Shir Yom HaShabbat. Of Nodot, Ladonai, Zechayom. Yatai Volech, Maseh Dechanen, Magadlu, Maseh Chayash, Odecha. At the little arrow, middle 134. Tzadik atamai hira kere balmanon yizge shetunim beved Adonai v'chatzrot Eloheinu yafrichum od yenovon b'seiva deshenim v'rananim hiu lehagim yashar Adonai suri velo avlada amun. Top 141. Hallelujah, 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 el bekocho, hallelujah, bekiyaozo, hallelujah, v'ingvorotav, hallelujah, hero, good Lord. Hallelujah, 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 bete hikashofar, hallelujah, b'nei v'chino, hallelujah, betof u'machol, hallelujah, b'minim v'ugav. Hallelujah, 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 betzin neshama, hallelujah, betzin letrua, kol haneshama teha, hallelujah. Kol haneshama hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Turn on to page 145. Take a breath, the breath of all life. Breath that comes from the power beyond. Nishmat kol chai. Nishmat kol chai. Tevarech shema. Adonai Eloheinu. Rogo basar min Amitael. In lana melech golotai. Don't need bechod. Nedamim el min ונופלים. לחוות אנחנו מודים מלפני שהוא הקיים, ידינו פרוסות משמיים, מיצרים גרתנו לאלוהים וניתן ולמתנו ולמתנו, עד לחמך אל תדשנו לנצח. Bottom 146. מי יתמלה ומי ישבלה ומי ירוך לה, האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, קונה שמיים וארץ, נללך שבחך, ופריך מברך את שם קודשך הגמור, לדוד, בכי נפשי את אדוני, וכל גרבי את שם קודשו. האל בתעצומות עוזך, הגדול בכבוד שמך, הגיבור לנצח, והנורא מנורותיך, המלך היושב על כיסא רם ונישא, שוכן על מרום וקדוש. וחתור אנו צדיקים באדוני שומעים נאווה תהילה, בפי ישרים תתהלל, ונראה צדיקות תתברך, ובשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתגדל, ומגלו לבבות עמך ותישא. Bottom 147. להודיע לברך לקלס הכל, דברי שירו ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי, עבדך משיחך. Please rise. 148. ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, המלך הגדול הקדוש בשמיים. ברכות והודות מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני המלך גדול בתשבחות, אל הודאות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אל חי העולמים. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בימיו יברך חירותי ממליך מלכותי, וחייכו מכון וחייכו בישראל בעגלה בזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. ישמי רבה מבורך לעולם עלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ותעלה שמי לקודשה, בריחו לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושרתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ויאמרו Amen. 149, a slight bow. Baruchu et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach. Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. 150. Baruch Adonai Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer oro v'choshech oseh shalom uvoed agor hakol yoduha ve'agor yishavruha ve'agor yomru ein kadosh kadonai agor ramucha Selah yotzer hakol הפותח בכל יום דרכי שם מזרח, מוציא חמה ממקומם, וטובו מחדש ולומדים מסיב השיב שבה. איך אחד אדוני אלוהים בעולם הזה, ואין זולתך, מרכנו לחיי עולם הבא, אפס ברתך, כל ימות המשיח, ואין דמלך מושיענו, לתחיית המתים. 151. אל אדון העולם עשים באו ורב ובירו נשמה גד לא וטובו מלא עולם דעת ותבונה סובבים אותו מגאיך עד הקודם טובים שמות שבא לאלוהינו יצא. בשבח נותנים לו כל צבא מרום דברת וגדולה שרפים ויופנים וחיות הגולה. 152 לילה ששבת מכל המעשים ונקרא יום השבת זה שבע גשמים מזמור שלא נדוב להודות לאדוני תטבח משינו שמעשה ידיך ושמעשה תברך שם ישתבח שמנו top 153 כולם אהובים, כולם ברורים, כולם גיבורים וכולם עושים אימה וירא רצון קונם וכולם פותחים בפיהם בקדושה ותורה בשירה וזמרה ומברכים משבחים ופרים מריצים מקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול וכולם מקיימים מהם אוך מלכות שמיים זה מזה ונותנים רשות זה לזה להקדיש יוצרם בנחת רוח בשפה ובבנים הקדושה כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך על הארץ כבודו ואופנים וחיות הקודש ברעש גדול מנסים למצרפים למתם משבחים ואומרים ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו ליל ברוך ושכל אשר בא מלחמו וצדקות ברפואות אדון נפלא אור חדש על ציון תאיר ונזכחו לנו מראה לאורו ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. 154 bring our four tzitzit together to prepare for Shema Yisrael Ava Rabavtanu Adonai Eloheinu Chamla Gedora v'tiracham altalinu v'rachamanu Kin techonenu v'rachamam v'reitech d'beit v'dachem וקרבתנו לשמך הגרוסלה באמת להודות לך ולכתך בימה ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר במו ישראל באהבה שמע Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשיתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ושוכבך וקומך וקשרתם להיות עיידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וטבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. 156 ואם שמוע תשמעו את שפתי שנוחים מצווה נתיר אצלכם ביתו עם אור אלוהיס ונשלח אביב להם חרבנם זרוע שמתי לו אלוהיכם ובידיכם כל מצוות לא תטור חלבה אחרונה תזכו אדוני אלוהיכם 155 58 in the middle. Tilot Elion Bachum Rach. Moshe, Miriam, Bnei Israel, Lechanu Shira B'Simcha Rabbah, V'amru Chulam, Mi Kamocha B'Imernai, Mi Kamocha Nedar B'Kodesh, Nora Tilot, O Seifele, Shira Chadasha, Shibechu Gilim Shimcha Sfat Hayam, Yach Kulam Hodu V'Imlichu, V'amru Adonai Imloch Leolam Va'ed. Please rise. Sur Yisrael, Kuma Be'ezrat Yisrael, Uvdech in Yomecha, Yehuda ve'Yisrael. Go Aleinu Adonai Tzvaot Shemo, Yedosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Gan Yisrael. Okay, Chevre. We place our feet together and face the arc towards Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, pages 159 through 161. We're going to daven together as a congregation. Next several pages are done silently. It's called a silent Amidah, silent standing prayer. Typically, when we think of prayer, most people think of asking for things, thinking about the challenges of life and seeking help, wisdom, healing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's very common. It's a natural soul need. But Shabbat is different. On Shabbat, on the Sabbath, we're supposed to take time to not just think about what we don't have, what we're lacking, but what makes us full. Everybody, no matter what you're going through in your life, everyone, even with challenges, there are things that we take simply for granted too often. So Shabbat's a chance not just for thinking about what we don't have, but thinking about what we do have. Maybe it's very basic. It's just breath. Maybe it's just life. Maybe it's love. Perhaps it's friends. The chance to be present at a special moment. All of us can think of safety, of what it means to be grateful for our country, for the world, for creation. Take your time in silent prayer. Either use the prayers in the prayer book, or just close your eyes. Just imagine to yourself, what are the prayers that we need to be grateful to the power beyond, that we just, by the grace of God, we are blessed with. So 159 to 161 together. The rest is silent Amidah. Adonai sifatai tivtach ofi yanginin lazecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elokei avoteinu v'imotenu Elokei Avraham Elokei Yitzchak ve'Elokei Yaakov Elokei Sarah Elokei Rivka אלוהי רחל ואליה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, מביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ופוקד מושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה, אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומגיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני וחיי המתים, נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, כך כתוב ביד נביאך, וקרא זה לזה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך על הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מנסים למצרפים לעומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו ממקומך. מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון? בקרוב ימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור נצח נצחים. ועינינו תראינה מלכותך כדבר אמור בשירי עוזך על ידי דוד משיח צדקך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ונצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש ושיחך אלוהינו בינו ושלום ועד כי עומד הגדול והקדוש אתה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. The new silent prayer is Moshe. יקדל ויקדש שמי רבה ויאמר יברכתם מחמוכתי בחייכון מכון וחניך בישראל ועגלה בזמן קריב ימרו עמי יהי שמי רבה מבורא לעולם הוא עמי על מעייב יתברך וישתבח ויתבר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתלבט עליו שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילם מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבתה ונחמתה דמרם בימיו ימרו תתקבל צלטון ואותון לך ישראל קודם ובהונדי ושמי וימרו יהי שלום רב מן שמיה וחיים עליהם וכל ישראל וימרו עושה שם ממרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל וימרו אמן. אין כמוך אלוהים אדוני ואין יבשך מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל הדור ודור אדוני מלך אדוני מלך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן Adonai Vayikra Amo Shalom. Haragamim Heitiva Vitzoncha Et Zion Tivnei Omot Yerushalayim Kivecha Levad Batagno Melech Eram. Please rise. Adon Olamim Vayehi B'Tzoharon Vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai Ve'afutzu Yevecha Ve'anusu Misanecha Mipanecha Ki Mitzion Tetzeh Torah Ki Mitzion Tetzeh Torah Odevar Adonai Miroshalayim Barosh Shenatan Torah Barosh Shenatan Torah Le'amo Yisrael V'egdo Shator. Our bat mitzvah leads us now responsively, 171, Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol. Turn towards the ark, guys. Turn it around slightly. And take a slight bow with me. Gadlul Adonai. Perfect. Come this one, my friend. Yaktav leha Adam. Mazel tov, brother. Ve'agevora tiferet ve'aneza ve'ahor hiro b'shamayim u'va'ar giro b'shamayim u'va'ar leha Adonai amamlacha ve'amid na'aseh. Adonai, our newest members. Look at this. Shabbos, good Shabbos. Glass Shabbos. Look at nice time, brother. Shabbos. Mazel tov. So glad to have you guys here. Shabbos. Hey no, Adonai Eloheinu, ay 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 ay. Shabbat shalom, welcome. Ay 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 ay. Shabbos, ay ay. Shabbat shalom, welcome. Shabbat shalom, welcome. Ay 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 ay. Shabbos. Ay 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 ay. Shabbos. Ya 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 ya. Shabbat shalom. Ay 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 ay. You may be seated. Shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom, varach. We, of course, have a special, we welcome all of our regulars, of course, and all those who are special occasion to come and celebrate an amazing bat mitzvah experience of our amazing Bekerman mishpacha. And all those joining us online, we welcome you too. It's a wonderful Shabbat. So you can follow along. Now you can take the smaller red books of Siddurim and place them to the side. The larger red ones, called the Chumash, the Chumashim, that is the Torah in book form. You can follow along. Should be in front of you on in your pews. We are in an amazing parsha. They're all great parshas, okay? But it's Shabbat Tisa. We hear more about it from our bat mitzvah in a little bit. But the most famous story in this is Moshe Rabbeinu goes up on Mount Sinai, get the Torah. It seems like everything's great, but typical with our people, we're difficult a little bit, okay? The Jewish people have a long history of being difficult, okay? And up, while Moshe is up at the top, what happens? The people down below say he's taking too long, what's going on, what's up there? They start and build a golden calf and dance and pray and do idolatry around that. That's probably the most fundamental story. There's even more, and there's a lot of beautiful pieces in this whole section of leadership and the easy way to fall into idolatry. Again, we'll hear more about this from our bat mitzvah and her teaching her Dvar Torah. It's also Shabbat Parah. This is one of the special Torah readings where we have a second Torah on the way to Passover, because believe it or not, everyone, if you look at the local, Harris Teeter and Wegmans, okay, it's already out, already the stuff's out, matzah, and everything's getting ready. Pesach's in about 3.5 weeks-ish, something like that, because Purim comes just this week, and next Passover's on the brain. So we're reading some Torah, special Torah readings, preparing us for Pesach. So it's also Shabbat Parah. So we're beginning on page 523, the book of Exodus, second book of the Torah, chapter 30, verse 11. Faith is our first reader. And we call to the Torah to make the first aliyah to the Torah, a member of the congregation. Vayazor v'gim, v'shkasim b'om v'nomar amen. Hakol, havu, golda, leiluhenu, v'tnu kavod la Torah, yamdua. Shaul ben Davi and Techaya, v'chana bat Matis v'shira, l'aliyah rishona, Baruch shetan, tolim v'yisabid shato, v'atem efikim b'ranai, Elohechem chayomhem hayom.
Baruch et Adonai Amvarach.
Baruch Adonai Barak leolam va'ed.
Adonai Amvarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachadvanu mikol hamim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Varaber Adonai al Moshe lemor ki Tisa et rosh b'nei Yisrael Vayakhei-Pekudei hem v'natenu ish kofer nafsho l'Adonai bifkod otam v'lo yiyeh lahem negef bifkod otam ze yitenu kol ha'over al ha'pekudim machatzit ha'shekel b'shekel ha'kodesh Esrim Geirah HaShekel Machatzit HaShekel Teruma L'Adonai.
Yeshkoyach, very beautiful.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tokenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yeshkoyach. Beautiful. Tov, our second aliyah on page 524, verse 14. And the souls are coming up, or just one of the souls? Okay. Yamot Shmuel ben Leib Halevi v'chana aliyah shenit.
Baruch et Adonai Hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Barak leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Barak leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Kol ha'over al ha'pekudim mi bein esrim shana v'mala yitain trumat Adonai ha'ashir lo yarbeh v'hadal lo yamid v'machatzit ha'shokel l'teit et trumat Adonai l'chaper al nafshotechem v'lakachto et kesef ha'kippurim me'et b'nei Yisrael v'natato oto al havodat ohel moed v'haya lifnei Yisrael l'zikaron lifnei Adonai l'chaper al nafshotechem.
Shkoyach, Harry.
Shkoyach.
Chazak.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olanu natan b'tochechenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shikoach, Sam Shmuel, Shikoach. So, we turn to our third aliyah. We invite Andrew and Nancy to come forward this time. We are on verse 17, page 524. Yamdu Yehuda ben Yaakov Halevi ben Nachabat Sender v'Sara l'aliyah shlishit. Just want to give a little space to let her come on up and join you. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm just going to close this up a little bit. Ricky's moving a little bit over. There we go, brother. Okay, Vakasha.
Baruch et Adonai Habarach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Voed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Leolam Voed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Just hold this right here. There we go.
Amen. Vadaber Adonai el Moshe lemor v'yasita ki o nechoshet v'chano nechoshet l'rotza v'natata oto ben ohel moed uvein hamizbeach v'natata shamamayim v'rachatzu Aharon uvanav mimenu et yedehem v'et raglehem bivoam Elohel moed yerchatzu mayim v'lo yamutu ovekishtam el hamizbeach l'sharet lahakter ishel Adonai v'rachatzu Videhem veraglehem velo yamutu v'hayita lahem chokolam lo zaro ledorotam.
Chazak, Rigish Shikoach. Beautiful.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mazal to what's your step over here. Not a sack, Vakasha. To our fourth aliyah, we invite Aaron and Rosalind to come forward. We are on verse 22, page 525. Yamdu Aaron ben Yosef Yitzchak uMiriam. V'Shoshana bat Ephraim v'Chana l'aliyah revi'it. Just come on up, guys. Just move a little over. There we go.
Baruch et Adonai Habarach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Voed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Leolam Voed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bacha banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. We just hold this here, guys. Hold this here.
Amen. Vayedaber Adonai Moshe lemor v'yata kach lecha besamim rosh mordror chamesh me'av v'kin besam machatzito 50 u'matayim u'knei v'osam 50 u'matayim v'gidah 500 b'shekel hakodesh v'shemen zayin v'yasito tov shemen mishcha kodesh rokach mirkach hamaseh rokech shemen mishcha kodesh yeh u'mashach tavod ohel moed v'yed aronai dud v'yed hashulchan v'yed kol kelav v'yed hamenorah v'yed kelacha v'yed mizbach haketoret v'yed mizbach halav v'yed kol kelav v'yed hakior v'yed kano v'kidash ta'otam v'ayu kodesh kadashim kol hanogeh b'hem mikdash v'yed Aaron v'yed banav timshach v'kidash ta'otam l'chayin li v'yed b'nei Yisrael tedaber lemor shemen mishcha kodesh yazeli l'dortechem al b'sar adam lo yisach u'makunto lo tasu kamohu kodeshu kodeshi alachem ish asher yirkach kamohu Vasher yitain mimenu alzar v'nichran.
Ran me'amash kayach. He's key.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mazel tov shekach on this side. Vakasha. So, our fifth aliyah, I invite Zachary and Asher to come forward this time. Our fifth aliyah is verse 34, page 526. Yamdu Zachar ben Aaron v'Shoshana v'Asher ben Aaron v'Shoshana aliyah chamishit. Come on up, guys. Okay. Take your seat. Calmly show them there. Okay. Close the Torah.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Guys, hold this here. Here we go.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe kach lecha samim natach ushchelet vehel bena samim uvona zaka bad bevad yichye ve'asita ota ketoret rokach maseh rokeach memulach tahor kodesh v'shachakta mimena hadek v'natata mimena lifnei ha'edu be'ochel mo'ed asher iva'ed lecha shama kodesh kadashim tichye lachem v'haketoret asher ta'aseh b'makunta lo ta'asu lachem kodesh tichye lecha l'Adonai ish asher yaseh chamocha lehariach ba v'nikra
Me'amash kachachem kol hakavod.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shekayach Chazak. Okay, on this side. Vakasha. So, our sixth aliyah, invite Ephraim and Chana to come forward this time. We're in verse 1, page 527. Yamdu Ephraim ben Zachar v'Chana bat Senda v'Sara aliyah shishit. Mazal tov. Okay. Take your seat. There you go. Nachon. Okay, Vakasha.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Hanevach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Chazak is a kan. Hold this. Vakasha, toda.
Amen. Vayedaber Adonai HaMoshe lemor rei karati v'shem Betzalel ben Uri v'chor lamate Yehuda v'hamale oto ruach Elohim bechachma u'vivurnav dad uv'chamalacha lachsho machashavot לעשות בזהב ובכסף ובנחושת ובחרושת אבן למלות ובחרושת עץ לעשות בכל מלאכה והני הנה נתתי טוב את ההוליאב בן אחי שמח למטה דן ובלב כל חכם לב נתתי חכמה ויעשו את כל אשר ציוויתיך את אוהל מועד ואת הארון לעדות ואת הכפורת אשר עליו ואת כל כלי האוהל ואת השולחן ואת כליו ואת המנורה הטהרה ואת כל כליה ואת מזבח הקטורת ואת מזבח עליו ואת כל כליו ואת הכיור ואת כנו ואת בגדי השרד Vayakhei-Pekudei HaKodesh Le'aron HaKohen Vayakhei-Pekudei Banav Lechaim V'Shemen HaMishcha V'Ketoret HaSamim LaKodesh K'cha Asher Tziviticha
Yasu Ishkachech. Beautiful.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata betocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mazal tov. Ishkoyach. Watch your step. Other side of Akasha. Invite the proud parents to come forward for the 7th Aliyah. We're on verse 12, page 528. Yamdu Moshe ben Ephraim v'Chana v'Chava bat Avraham v'Sara l'Aliyah Shvi'it. Come over, we're gonna hold the wood. Okay, that's right. Okay, let's make sure she finds it. Do you find it? Okay. Okay, let them hold the wood there, Madelyn. Okay, Madelyn, okay, let them hold the wood. Okay. There we go. Hold it exactly. Close it up. There we go.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Havarach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Havarach Le'olam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor ve'ata daber el bnei Yisrael lemor achet shabbatai tishmoru ki ohi beini uvenichem l'dorotechem l'dat ki ani Adonai mekadishchem Ushmartem et ha-Shabbat ki kodesh hi lachem mechalaleha mo yumat ki kol haoseh b'malacha v'nichreta ha-nevesh hi mekerev ameha sheshet yamim yaseh malacha uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat, Shabbaton, Kodesh Adonai, Kol Haoseh Malacha, Bayom HaShabbat, Mot Yumat, V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, L'doratom b'ritomam, Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, Oti le'olam, ki sheshet yamim, asa Adonai et hashamayim, ve'et ha'aretz, uvayom hashvi'i, Shavat
Yinafa Shakoach. Oh my God, awesome, awesome.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mazel tov. We're going to rise together, please. We're going to do a few things this time. We're going to offer a special prayer for healing first, and then we're going to do the Chatzi Kaddish and bring out the second Sefer Torah. As I pause in the midst of this prayer for healing, I invite you to add the names in your heart who you're holding who are in need of healing, both physical and spiritual, healing for all. Mi sheberach avotenu, Avram Yitzchak Yaakov imotenu, serv kav Rachel v'Leah, hu yivarech v'rapeh et achonim eser Mordechai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu in lerachamim aleihem, להחזיקם רפאותם, וישלח להם רפואה שלמה מן השמיים, פות הנפש פות הגוף, בתוך שאר החולים, חזק ידי עסקים בצורכיהם, שבת מלזעוק רופאה קרובה לבוא, השתא בעגלה בזמן קריב, ונאמר אמן. May the Holy One who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing and healing to all those we pray for. May the Holy One mercifully restore them to health and vigor, granting them spiritual and physical well-being, together with all others who are ill. And may God grant strength to those who tend to them. Though Shabbat is a time to refrain from crying out, we hope and pray that healing is at hand, and let us say together, Elna Revana La Elna Revana La Elna Revana La Refua Shelema Elna Revana La Elna Revana La Elna Revana La Refua Shelema. You guys on the side. Yitgadal ve'yitgadash merava ve'amar yivrach yirodeh v'amlik malchuteh ve'hayeyad ov yom echad ol chayircho beit Yisrael ba'gala ba'gala ובזמן גריבים אמרו עמי ישמי רבה מבורא לעולם ומעלמא יעיד יתברך וישתבח וידבר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשיו לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה דור וחתה ונחמתה דמירן בים Amen. We now lift and dress the first Sefer Torah. We invite John to come forward to lift the Torah and Karen to dress the Torah. Nachon? Okay, it's Chad and Judy will come forward to dress the Torah. Okay, so Chad and Judy come forward. Yamod, Mordechai Menachem ben Yosef Chaya, V'fegele, Hamagbiya Sefer Rishon, Tamod, Yudit Bat Sefer Sarah Golelet, Sefer Rishon, Vezot HaTorah, Asher Sam Moshe, Livnei Bnei Israel, Al Pi Adonai, V'yarmo. Ya 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 ay 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 die die no die die no die die no die no die no die no die die ain't no die die no die die no die no die no Ilo hotzi where's your son? Anu mi Mitzrayim hotzi anu mi Mitzrayim de no die die 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 no die sitting with it. Okay. Daino. Just chill. It's okay, brother. All right. Maybe seat everybody. Maybe seated. Joseph's getting ready. Okay. We now are here for this special opportunity. Our B Mitzvah, Bat Mitzvah, will be called to the Torah special for the Maftira Aliyah. And we find the Maftira Aliyah on page. Now it's special because it's a separate Torah. We're on page 880 in your Chumashim. To flip a little bit, page 880. Numbers chapter 19, verse 1. This is an ancient ritual described in the Torah to prepare the priests for purification. Why? Because Passover is coming, Pesach, and we had all these special sacrifices, especially for Pesach, and the priests had to be ready and cleansed and ready, purified for that. So this prepares us for that Pesach celebration. So we're on page 880, verse 1. Tamod, Bachurat, Bat HaMitzvah, Meital, Zahara, Bat Moshe V'Chava, Lamaftira Chizki.
Baruch Hu Etz Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Varach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Varach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher Bachar Bani Mikol Ha'amim. V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vadaber Adonai El Moshe ve'el Aharon lemor. Zot chukad Torah asher tziva Adonai lemor.
Daber el bnei Yisrael, Vayakhei lecha para aduma timima, asher ein bamum, asher lo ala aleha ohol. Untatem ota el Elazar hakohen, v'hotzi ota el michutz lamachane, v'shachat ota lefanav, v'lakach Elazar hakohen midama be'etzba'o, v'hiza El nohach penei ohel moed midama sheva pe'amim v'saraf et hapara le'enav et orav et bisarav et dama al pirsha yisrov v'lakach hakohen et serez ve'ezov ushni tolat ve'hishlich el toch serefat hapara ve'chibes begadav hakohen ve'rachatz bisaro b'mayim ve'achar yavo el hamachaneh ve'tamei hakohen ad ha'arev V'hasreif ota yechabes begadav b'mayim v'rachatz b'saro b'mayim v'tamei ad ha'arev v'asaf ish tahor et efer hapara v'hiniach michutz lamachane b'makom tahor V'hayeta la'adat b'nei Yisrael l'mishmeret l'mei dachatati v'chibes ha'osef et efer hapara et begadav v'tamei ad ha'arev v'hayeta livnei Yisrael Vilager hagar bitocham lechukat olam hanogea b'meit lechol nefesh adam v'tamei shivat yamim hu yitchatavo bayom hashlishi uvayom hashivi yitar v'im lo yitchata Bayom hashlishi uvayom hashivi lo yitar kol hanogeya b'meit b'nefesh ha'adam asher yamut v'lo yitchata et mishkan Adonai timei v'nichreta Hanefesh ha'im Yisrael ki meinida lo zorak alav tamei od tumatovo zot haTorah Adam ki yamut ba'ohel kol haba el ha'ohel v'chol asher ba'ohel yitmashivat yamim V'chol kelifatuach asher ein samid patil alav tamehu V'chol asher yiga al penei hasadeh b'chalach herev ovemeit ove'etzem adam ovekaver itmashivat yamim V'lakechu latamei me'afar serefat hachatat v'natan alav mayim chayim el keli v'lakach ezov v'taval b'mayim ish tahor v'hiza al ha'ohel v'al kol ha'kelim V'al ha'nefashot asher hayusham Ve'al hanogeya Be'etzem o v'chalal o v'amet o v'kaver. V'hiza hatahor al hatameh bayom hashlishi ubayom hashvi'i v'chiteo bayom hashvi'i v'chibes begadav v'rachatz b'mayim v'taher ba'arev Ve'ish asher yitma v'lo yitchata v'nichreta hanefesh hahi mitoch hakahal ki et mikdash Adonai timei me nida lo zorak alav tamehu v'hayeta lahem lechukat olam Umazeh mehanida yechabes begadav v'hanogea b'mehanida yitma ad ha'arev v'chol asher yigabo hatameh yitma v'hanefesh hanogat tima ad ha'arev.
Shekoyach. Awesome. Awesome.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet b'hayei-olam natan b'dokeinu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Simitavu mazel dava mazel dava simitav simitavu mazel dava mazel dava simitav simitavu mazel dava simitav helano 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 ole Israel helano helano ole Israel helano smile ole Israel helano helano ole Israel. This time we call Johnny and Karen to come forward. Yamo Yaakov Moshe ben Yavrach Leah Magbia Sefer Sheni Talmud Hadassah Tshuva Badavra Sarah Kolelet Sefer Sheni Vedor Torah. Mr. Joseph, sit down, brother. Sit down. Shelim Israel Api Adonai Yanmod Ya Other side, John. This is called suffocate the brother time. Okay, all right. He's going to hold it tight. No dropping, Joseph. All right. You guys back to your seats. Maybe seat, everyone. We continue the Haftarah, page 1287, special for Shabbat Torah, 1287. Bakasha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar bivim tovim ratzah b'divreihem hana'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo v'yeh ha'emet b'tzedek. Vahi Dvar Elai Lemor Ben Adah Beit Yisrael Yoshevim Al Matam Vayatameu Otah Bedarkam Uva'aletam Getumat Hanida Hayata Darkam Lifanai Va'eshpo Chamati Alechem Al Hadam Asher Shafechu Al Haaretz Uvgilu Lehem Timeu Ha Va'afito Tam Bagoyim Vayizaru ba'aratzot kedarkam v'chalilatam shefatatim Vayavo el hagoyim asher ba'usham Vayachalelu et shem kodshi be'emor lahem Adonai Ela ume artso yatzau va'echmo al shem kodshi asher hilaluhu be Israel bagoyim asher ba'u shama lachen emor levi Israel ko amar Adonai Elohim lo ma'achem ani osa Beit Yisrael ki im Hashem kodshi asher hilaltem bagoyim asher batem sham v'kidashti et shemi hagadol hamechulol bagoyim asher hilaltem b'tocham vayadu hagoyim ki ani Adonai Na'um Adonai Elohim Bihi kodshi v'chem le'enehem v'lakachti etchem min hagoyim v'kibatzti etchem michol ha'aratzot v'heiti etchem El admatchem v'zarakti alechem mayim teharim utartem michol tumotechem umichol gilulechem ataher etchem v'natati lachem lev hadash v'ruach hadasha etein bekir bechem v'hasi roti et lev ha'evan mibsarchem v'natati lachem lev basar ve'et ruhi etein bekir bechem v'asiti et asher bechukai telechu umishpatai tishmaru v'asitem vishatem ba'aretz asher natati la'avotechem v'yitem li le'am v'anochi Ehyeh lachem le'Elohim v'hoshavti etchem michol tumotechem v'karakti el hadagan v'hir beiti oto v'lo etin alechem ra'av v'hir beiti et peri ha'et utnuvat hasadech man asher lo tiku ot herpat ra'av bagoyim uzkartem et darchechem ha'ra'im uma'alulechem asher lo tovim unkototem bifnechem al avonotechem ra'al to avotechem lo lema'anchem ani oseh na'um Adonai Elohim yivada lachem boshu v'hikalemu midarchechem Beit Yisrael Ko Amar Adonai Elohim B'yom Taharim Etchem Michol Avonotechem V'hoshavti et He'arim V'nivnu Hecho Ravot V'ha'aretz Hanshema Te'aved Tahat asher hayata shemama la'enei kol over v'amru ha'aretz halezu hanshema hayata kegon Eden v'he'arim ho revot v'han shemot v'han herasot b'tzorot yashavu vayadu hagoyim asher yisha'aru sevivotechem ki ani Adonai baniti hanehrasot natati hanshema ani Adonai dibarti vasiti baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kol ha'amim tzadik b'chol harot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'oseh ha'mdaber kayem shekol devarav emet v'tzedek ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'ne'emanim devarecha v'davar echad mid varecha achor lo yeshu frekam ki el melech ne'eman v'rahaman ata baruch ata Adonai ha'el ha'ne'eman b'chol devarav Rahem al Tzion ki hi beit hayenu v'la'alu vat nefesh toshia bimchera v'yamenu baruch ata Adonai misameach Tzion b'vahnecha samchenu Adonai Eloheinu be'eliyahu hanavi Avdecha uvmalkut beit David mishichecha bimchera yavo v'yagil libenu al kisolo yeshev zar v'lo yincha lu od acherim et kvodo ki v'shem kodshecha nish batalo shelo yich Benero le'olam va'ed baruch ata Adonai Magen David
Amen.
Al ha'Torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al hanvi'im ve'al yom ha'Shabbat hazeh shenatalanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha ve'limnuha Likhavod utifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach varchim otach yitbarach shimcha bifi chol hai Tamid le'olam va'ed baruch ata Adonai
Hoshama.
Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. I love that smile. Yeshakar. There we go. There we go. Okay. Bat mitzvah. Deep breath. You can adjust your talis from a sash to actually on your robe. There you go. Okay. And now our bat mitzvah is going to offer her commentary and thoughts going back to who the Torah reading. Remember, there were two Torahs read. One focused on Passover with the Shabbat Parah, but one is the original Tisa, dealing with various things. But the main focus, of course, is the golden calf. So, with joy, Vakasha, Madelyn.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Tisa is the story of the golden calf. It is when Moses and his brother Aaron escape Egypt with all of our ancestors. They arrive at Mount Sinai, and God tells them to build a temple in which the people will worship God. Then Moses climbs to the top of Mount Sinai, where he will get the 10 Commandments from God. After waiting 40 days and nights, the people ask Aaron to build them a golden calf. Though the people have freedom and eat good food, they still ask Aaron to build them a golden calf in which they will worship instead of God. Why did they build the golden calf? A lot of people have different ways of looking at the golden calf. Pinchas Peli, a man living in Israel 1930 to 1989, believed that the people were without a leader. Moses being gone 40 days and nights made the people believe there was no God, so they created a golden calf in which they prayed to. Nechama Leibowitz, a A woman born in Latvia but lived in Israel in 1905 to 1997 believed that the people were simply bored after waiting 40 days and nights for Moses to come down. While these two people had their opinions, I have my own. Take, for example, the movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. In this movie, the main character goes out in search of the Holy Grail. Towards the end, Indiana Jones is in a room with many cups. One and only one of these cups is the Holy Grail. Indiana Jones and his other bad guy, he doesn't matter, have to choose between all of the cups. The bad guy chooses the shiniest, most golden, beautiful cup in the entire room. Some would say that the most beautiful cup would hold the most value, but he chooses poorly and ends up dying. Then Indiana Jones chooses the brownest, ugliest cup, and he chooses correctly. What it shows me is that the most beautiful objects doesn't always have the most internal value. Sometimes the worth of something isn't always visual. As another example, from my everyday life, I've seen a lot of people value expensive clothes or cars. From my experience, the friendships I've made over life have greater meanings to me. Now, looking back at my Torah portion, just because the golden calf was golden and beautiful does not mean that it's the correct path to take. Just because the value of God is not seen with eyes does not mean that the value is not present. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Awesome job. I might just leave your papers there. You can come on down to the center of the beam. I invite your proud, nachas-filled parents to come on up and stand behind you. Need you a tallis clip, I think, or something after. Madelyn. We are so proud of you. So proud of you. You've read Torah so beautifully. And a long haftarah. And just lain so beautifully. But really most importantly, you understand the teaching of the golden calf. Right? I mean, it's one of these most famous stories, right? The people get all into what is shiny, right? And they forget about what's underneath. And we did a lot of study and discussion about this, right? Because this is a problem from time immemorial, and time even today, right? In your life, in our life. Our religion is different than other religious traditions. It's not we don't denigrate. There's nothing wrong with having something shiny or something pretty. There's nothing wrong with that. But as you said beautifully, when that becomes the most important thing, or the only way you judge something or someone is by how shiny something is, that's the only thing, then you've missed the point, man. I mean, I know you and your family, you guys really live this out. You know what it means, underneath what's most important, right? As a rabbi, and I was really touched by this when we just studied this together, there are a lot of people in our congregation of various, economic opportunities, social economic opportunities, but, everybody suffers when they're in mourning and they lose someone they love. Everybody. When you ask them what's the most important thing, it's not their car or their house or whatever. When they get sick, the most important thing is their health, right? And believe it or not, if I ask your parents what the most important thing is to them, it's definitely not a thing. It's a tie between you and your brother. Okay, a tie. Okay, a tie. Right? I mean, there's nothing more precious than this time. Nothing more precious than having family here to celebrate this. And this is something we all know, and you said it beautifully. You can't buy this. It takes resources to make it happen, but you can't buy this. You put your heart into this. You put your time into this. Your Jewish identity, something you built, your parents helped cultivate. Something you don't buy. It's something you build. It's something you earn. It's something you work for. Technically, it's free, but it's more than that. It's something you have to give your heart for, and you've done that. You've done that continuously. We look forward to seeing you do more heartfelt things, not only with your amazing friends and family, but in the shul. You've really grown up here in a lot of ways, right? You're a real Southern Jewish kid, okay? Next generation. Maybe we'll get that Kingston accent going, okay, a little bit, all right? But may it only continue. We look forward to seeing more Torah readings and more priceless things that you'll bring to our community. Mazel tov. Beautiful job. Wait, all to please rise. We'll give a special bracha. Mr. Close. Yeah. We're going to put your toes on your head. There we go. You fit. Parents, put your... Are you okay? Just gently. Can you bow your head down a little bit? Eloheinu ve'Elokei avotenu v'imotenu. The God of our foremothers and forefathers, on this holy Shabbat, bring down abundant brachot, blessings on this amazing bat mitzvah. Help her to always live by her amazing Dvar Torah. Help her to see you through everything, what's most important through everything. not only about what shines, but truly what is beautiful on the inside. Help her to let her soul shine, to let her joy shine, to let her love of Torah, love of her tradition, love of her family and friends, let that love always be at the center of her life. Help her to always lift that up and always be grateful for it. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Yair Adonai panav elecha v'yichoneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lach shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you, be gracious to you. May God always look upon you and grant you peace. We say together, Amen. Take your talis off, watch your hair. Parents can go back to the seats. Madelyn can come back for more Amy. We're now going to turn to the prayer for peace. Invite Peter and Rachel to come where I'm standing here on the bima. Invite you to come stand with me up here, Peter and Rachel. We're going to offer a prayer for peace responsively. On page 178, we offer this prayer for all places, obviously in our own city, in our own state, in our country, in the state of Israel. Many of you have watched, sadly, if you follow closely. There's been great controversy and struggle in Israel right now in the population. We pray for peace and shalom and true democracy in all places. Responsibly, page 178.
May we see the day when war and bloodshed cease, when a great peace will embrace the whole world.
The nation will not threaten nation, and the human family will not again know war.
For all who live on earth shall realize we have not come into being to hate or to destroy. We have come into being to praise, to labor, and to love.
Compassionate God, bless the leaders of all nations with the power of compassion.
Fulfill the promise conveyed in Scripture. I will bring peace to the land, and you shall lie down, and no one shall terrify you.
I will rid the land of vicious beasts and shall not be ravaged by war.
Let justice and righteousness flow like a mighty stream.
Let God's peace fill the earth as the waters fill the sea. And let us say, Amen.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Beautiful. We now prepare to return the Sefer Torah to the Ark, page 183. Hallelu et Shem Adonai, in his God Shemo Levado, Hola Arele Shamayim, Vayaren Geren Leamo, Tila Lechol Hasidam, Livnei Yisrael Am Gerova, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Mizmor LeDavid, Havul Adonai Bnei Elim, Havul Adonai Kavod Vos, Havul Adonai Gevod Shema, Ishtavu Adonai Behadrat Kol, Kodai Ma'im, Elekavod Irim, Adonai Ma'im Rabim, Kol Adonai Ba'koa, Kol Adonai Be'adar, Kol Adonai Shomer Azim, Hashamer Adonai Rafiava, Vayikra Kamo Egel, Levano Mitzvah, Gamo Ben Re'im, Kol Adonai Chosam Ha'apotei, Kol Adonai Yem Mivar, Yachir Adonai Mivar Kadesh, Kol Adonai Adonai, Vayestov Yirah. You may be seated as the ark is closed. Very timely closing. It was well done. Shabbat shalom, everybody. It is a pleasure to be here and celebrate. We know there are a lot of people here, perhaps your first time at Beth Maya, or first time in the synagogue. Welcome. We're glad to have you. Our custom is to study a little Torah together. We actually do a little conversation. And what we're going to do is, if you take your Shabbat bulletin that hopefully you received as you walked in, on the flip side are a few texts that we're going to study together and discuss. And you are invited to participate. If you're visiting, or even if you're not Jewish, everyone is invited to offer their thoughts and opinions on the question I'm going to raise. When it wasn't COVID, we asked each to pass the microphone around and people could hear. We may come back to that at some point soon, eventually. I don't know, someday when Messiah comes, I don't know, eventually. But in the meantime, as I'll call on you, and then I'll paraphrase what you say to make sure everyone can hear it, and also because there are a number of people on live stream at home who can't hear unless you speak into a microphone. So that's what we'll go back and forth and discuss. So this historic portion is so rich in it, and we are going to discuss something related. Usually we study like a passage directly from the Torah portion of the week, more or less. But we decided to do a special project that we are working on as a whole community, and this is kind of an opportunity to study about it, but also to advertise, because in this upcoming weeks, and I think it's not, then maybe the following Sunday, I can't remember exactly, more Kathy could tell us exactly when it's happening, but soon we're going to be doing something here at Beth Maya, which we do once every couple years, maybe 7 to 10 years, something like that, which is we bury sacred books and objects, and we collect them in something called a Geniza project. Some of you may know the word Geniza. Lignoz means kind of to store, collect, to kind of hide away. And there's a famous Geniza example, if you want to go Google this afterwards, after Shabbat, of course, is the Cairo Geniza in a shul, a synagogue in Cairo, which actually still exists to this day. Thousands of documents, books, and sacred objects were found there in this Geniza, which were used by the great Solomon Schechter. Some of you may know that one was one of the great kind of leading thinkers of conservative Judaism, which is our movement and denomination, and gave enormous information about the history of Jews for over 1,000 years because these documents were saved. Now the question is, why were they saved? Well, they were saved because, according to our tradition, that's what we're going to look at today, when any document that has God's name in it, and we can talk a little about there are many names for God, but the most typical name for God is Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, or on the paper he'll say, I put it as Y-H, V-H, or W-H. Some say Yahweh. We call it Adonai. Whenever a document has that on it, more or less, you are not allowed to just say, well, I wrote that name, I want to throw it in the trash. No. First, you're supposed to store it together in a Geniza, which is a special place maybe in a synagogue that you kind of gather all these documents with God's name on it. And then eventually you're actually supposed to bury them into the ground. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you a little bit of background on what this whole tradition is. Why do we bury God's name? Why do we specifically, for example, a Torah scroll, which our Bat Mitzvah read from so beautifully. These Torah scrolls are made from parchment. They're written with an old school quill pen. And they can last for many decades, maybe even a century. But eventually, every single Torah, it eventually becomes no longer kosher. It can't be used anymore because it's like a real document. When it becomes destroyed, what do you do with it? Do you throw it in the trash? Of course not. You do not. We hold it in the Geniza in a separate area. And eventually, we actually bury it. And it's actually a tradition to bury it either on the grounds of our synagogue or somewhere special, or even in the cemetery itself to place a Sefer Torah scroll. So I want to understand, what does it mean in our tradition that we require burying specifically documents with God's name on it, specifically holy documents like a Torah scroll or the special Torah book you have called the Chumash, if that for some reason becomes damaged? What is the message that the rabbis of old were teaching us about why you must bury? So before I even ask, I see our passport mitzvah as an idea. Before I give it up, just a little background on where this even comes from. Like, where does idea even come from? And again, the idea here is that if you have some sacred object in your house, if you have books with God's name in it, or you have holy objects like a talit or tefillin or various Jewish ritual objects, you may want to bring them to the synagogue in the next week or so, because we will bury them together. So what's the background? Take a look at your page right here. Doing a little bit of a lesson here. According to the rabbis, the first reason why we cannot destroy God's name is not really, unfortunately, it's not my most favorite example in the whole Torah, but, we have to accept the tradition as it is. It says here in the book of Deuteronomy that when our people enter the land of Israel, this is now thousands of years ago, we are commanded that all the people practicing idolatry, all the idolatry was happening in the land before we arrive. The Torah specifically says it's a commandment. You shall carve down the graven images of foreign idolatrous gods. You shall destroy them, their name out of that place specifically. If you see gods back in ancient, Israel, whatever, that have names of gods on it, you have to destroy it. You shall not do so regarding Adonai or God. So apparently, because the Torah says you should get rid of those bad names of all the idolatrous gods, the rabbis later interpret that to mean, therefore, don't do to our Adonai what we're supposed to do to all of them. So therefore, while you're supposed to destroy idolatrous gods, a la the golden calf, we're supposed to preserve Adonai. Okay, so that's the Torah. But as everybody knows, Judaism doesn't stop at the Torah. The Torah is the beginning and not the ending. What does the Talmud say? The early part of the Talmud, which is our great commentaries on Jewish law, most of Judaism today is based on the Talmud. The earliest part is called the Mishnah. This is the earliest statement we know about why we bury these sacred documents. It says, with regard to all sacred writings, one may rescue them from a fire on Shabbat. I'll come back to that in a second. Whether they are read in public, Torah or prophetic scrolls. The Torah is the Torah scroll. Prophetic scroll is the Haftarah, which the Bat Mitzvah just read. Or whether they are not read in public, like writing scrolls. There are all kinds of books in the Bible that we don't read publicly on Shabbat necessarily. No matter what, all of them should be rescued on Shabbat from a fire. Okay, that seems obvious. This is the only part. Check the last part. This ruling applies even though they're written in any foreign language, meaning even if you have a book that's a translation of the Torah, if it has God's name in it, according to the rabbis, even those scrolls that are not read in public, they are still sacred, and this is the first time it's ever mentioned. Not only must you preserve them, the Mishnah says they require burial. So without going into deep detail into this particular legal thing, because I could spend a whole Shabbat just on that, just know that based on the idea you can't destroy God's name, the rabbis say, therefore, you have to bury it. It comes early on in the Talmud. All right, and I gave an example here of the most common version of God's name. You'll notice in the Hebrew I put some hyphens in it. Why? Because if I didn't put the hyphen in it, you'd have to bury this piece of paper because it has God's name on it. So this is actually a trick around. If you put the hyphens, supposedly you're off the hook. I know someone's going to ask me about recycling. Yes, recycling is perfectly too, but we'll get into that in a second. But for this, technically, we can recycle this. This is not technically God's name because of the dashes. All right, so let's come back. From these texts, I've shown you that you can't destroy God's name because you shouldn't do it. Second of all, it should be buried is a 2,000, 2,500-year-old tradition that you should actually bury God's name. So here's my question to you. Why do you think it's important to bury sacred objects, to bury a Torah scroll when it's no longer available, as opposed to just possibly throwing it away, or by the way, I don't know, some might say doing some other way of disposing it that maybe it might be more respectful. Why specifically bury it? Okay, do people have ideas of why we bury these things? Okay, we have a fight between Fox and Jacob. I'm going to go to Fox first because his bar mitzvah came first. All right, what do you say, Fox, about why we bury things?
So I think that we would bury it because, like, the same way that, like, we might honor a past family member by, like, burying them and, like, sending them to the afterlife in, like, a ceremonial, like, in, like, a holy way almost. Like, it's the same way with, like, God's name. Like, you would bury it in, like, some sort of ceremony to, like, honor God's name.
Rabbi Jones in the house. Let's go. Okay. So he's bringing the most amazing metaphor, and we're going to really play with this here. I think it's really profound. Is just like we would never, God forbid, in our tradition, disregard or denigrate the human body upon burial. We actually bury people in the ground. It's considered in our tradition. Again, there are different religious practices around this, but in our tradition, it is the highest way we honor someone. From dust we come, and dust we return. That is considered. Therefore, the same thing happens with God, so to speak, God and God's name, because it represents God. And going further, including human beings like a Torah, because that's the most well-known thing you bury, really, okay? Because it's filled with God's name also, right? It is like a human being. That is how we treat it. And by the way, sadly, when the Nazis wanted to go after the Jewish people in the hardest way, what did they destroy? In addition to human beings, the Torah. Because the idea was they understood in a sickening way that we consider this like God embodied in a way, like the value of a human. That's how important it is to our tradition. So Fox is on to something. We do the opposite. We bury. Okay, second in line bar mitzvah. Jacob, what do you say? Shalom. Shalom. Let's go, bar. Reka Vayhurst. No.
So first off, I don't think that anyone's trying to grow a Torah tree. There's always that one guy. But
No.
even though Fox stole half of what I was going to say.
Okay. Okay, do you have another? What's the other half?
What if you had like, I know it's Shabbat, but what if you had like a cool doc with God's name? Can you like delete that?
You a document on a computer. Oh my God, this is great. So first of all, I'm going to say, I knew this question was going to come. I really researched it, went down. So actually, there is a debate, shocker, in our tradition. There's a debate, okay? Because apparently, when a word appears on your computer screen, apparently your TV, and this is something I imagine like Henry Schaefer would know, okay? All engineers will know, okay? Apparently it makes a small imprint on your screen for a moment or something like that, right? The way it appears, and apparently on very high-level TVs, it actually can sit there for a second. So there's debate whether the screen is actually holding God's name or not, which, by the way, makes a decision on whether or not when you even put something on the screen, do you have to therefore bury the screen, okay? Because it shows remnants of God. Now, in art, there's also a value of recycling and not wasting and blah, blah, blah. So this is a debate, but I would say in our tradition is that it appears on a screen or in technological ways, it doesn't have the same level of concern. But you shouldn't be wanton about it. You should still be careful about using God's name out of respect. That's a great question, Jacob. You fit. All right, Ellen, what do you say? Yes.
You have documents stored on some sort of a device, hard drive, thumb drive.
Here we go. Yeah.
And it has God's name.
Yeah.
But it's on your computer.
Oh, yeah, Ellen, I feel like I need to get a computer scientist here. All right, so like what if you have a USB drive? Right. But I wanted to say, Ellen, I think your point just say it's like, this is look, when I graduated rabbinical school 22 years ago, the gift from my aunt and uncle was a Talmud, the 60-set big thing. About a year after that, it all got on the computer. So I used to pull it out and like enjoy it, like clearing off the dust. And when I say it, and I like having it because of me joy, like my aunt uncle gave it to me, but it's all in the computer now. And of course, we're old school, we're into books, our people are the people of the book. But in fact, the computer's easier to study a lot, right? You can hold it, plus the light, and even if you do on your... So the question really becomes, right, I mean, what do we do with this, and how do we honor that? The truth, we're evolving in that thing, but I would say is, if you would like to bury your USB because it holds that, I think it would make sense. There's nothing, you can certainly bury extra things. The question is whether it's required to do it. I think that's still a question to be debated, but I think it's worthy. Now, the other question is, does a USB mess up the ground and pollute it? I think this is the other question. Like paper, I don't think has the same amount. So this is the issue. And I know this is debate going on in Jewish tradition because we don't want to destroy God's, earth. That's the challenge. But I hear you. It's an ongoing discussion. It's a good point. That is the values behind it, actually, is what I would say. All right, let me go to some of the other B-Mitzvah students. Yeah, new. Miss Miller.
So what you were mentioning earlier about the Nazis,
Yeah.
any of them knew about the fact that we don't want to cremate our bodies for just traditional purposes?
Do I think they knew that? Right. So you're asking her, is it true that the Nazis knew? And truth is, I don't know if every single person knows those things. Do I think that some of the people knew very well Judaism, Jewish practices? Sadly, yes. Sadly, they did know. Some did, and they did it specifically. Not all. Okay. Talia.
So if God's name was on a paper and you recycle it, is it technically going away because it's being replaced?
So Talia, look at this. Rabbi Talia, bring it. I'm loving his class. This is great. So here's the question, okay? Wait a second. If I'm going to recycle, by the way, there is a decision in the conservative movement. There was a discussion by the Rabbinical Council, the special CJLS, said you can recycle God's name on papers like this, not on a Torah scroll, but like this. Okay, but she said, wait a second. Isn't it just like throwing it away? Well, yes and no. Theoretically, Talia, wrap your head around this one, everybody. There is actually no such thing as throwing anything away. Because you think it goes away, but guess what? It's coming back. It may not come back in your specific neighborhood, house, yard, but when it goes into the like at sanitation hill, whatever, and then it redoes into the grass and that, it comes back into the earth. In fact, the greatest source of pollution is people who think they put things over there, and it comes back. I remember when I was a kid, we had something called acid rain. It used to go, quote unquote, over there, and then the rain clouds would come over here. So there's actually, ecology teaches us there's things way. So interesting about recycling is that you're taking God's name and maybe rechanneling it. So it's but I think that's onto a very interesting point there. Shouldn't recycling happen in a respectful way when you do it with God's name? And that's another interesting question to think about. Is like, you fit. I love that. All right, can't have just the be mitzvah class. Let me get. Oh, well, there's Mont back there. I love this. I got to go to the kids first. Mont, yes. Rabbi Munt in the house. Let's go. Another sermon. Right, because God is in everything, even in the milk carton, even in the paper. Therefore, in a sense, by putting the recycling and letting it go through the process of recompost, blah, blah, like composting in some ways this is like the ultimate compost. You're letting it come back and feed the earth, representing God is in everything, feeding everything, nourishing everything. Yefeh. It's a beautiful analogy. I love that idea. Yefeh. All right, let me give Adam a holler. Adam, what do you say? Yefeh.
How we treat the living.
Nachon.
If we can learn to respect the material world, the things that have been put in our hands, if we can respect them even when they're of their use, then we can learn to respect people that we may receive or cast aside.
Yefeh. So Adam said very beautifully, right? The way we treat things at the end of their days, whether it's a thing or a human being, reflects how we treat them during their lifetime or during or the way we should be treating, the kind of level of God's image in every single thing. This is exactly the way it comes to life. We embody that mitzvah, that idea, the moral behind it, right? There's a famous line also, in a society, as I said after the Holocaust, in a society where they first burn books, they'll end up burning people. You ever heard that line before? It's an infamous phrase. When you and I want to put particularly, I didn't say this, he was speaking generally, but I say about books, right? We in the Jewish people, we are called the people of the book. Like the book is very important. In fact, you could argue that Judaism and the Jewish people, it's all about our story, our book, inculcating that in the next generation. She read from the same book that we all read from the book. It's a generational book. You don't just burn that book. You don't toss that book. That book is holding the connection between her and her ancestors of 1,000 years ago. It's that book. So how you treat the book or the paper or God reflects actually how you treat human beings as well. Yefeh. All right, other thoughts about this? Yes.
I'm not sure if I can explain this the way it is in my head, but I'm going to try.
Okay.
I see the obligation to treat the Torah with respect, to bury it when it's been damaged. It's the same as the human. We bury the human body. We treat it with respect and with dignity, because the human body is more than a collection of carbon and hydrogen, etc., atoms.
Yes.
Because of our neshama, because of our soul.
Yes.
Because of our consciousness, and so on. And I view the Torah as essentially the soul of Judaism. It's a living thing. It's not just a piece of parchment.
Nachon.
What it is to us. It's kept us and it's sustained us for however many thousands of years.
Yes.
It's living.
Beautiful. Yes.
But, in a sense, it's more than just that. It has a soul, it has not consciousness, but we come back to it.
Yefeh. It's a living document. Yes. Yefeh, no. Yefeh.
And so we need to give it the same sort of respect and treat it as we would a living person, because it has the neshama, or the soul of Judaism.
Beautiful.
Bound up in that
Beautiful. And notice how beautiful. It's like the soul of the Jewish people, of Judaism and Jewish, is the Torah. This is the soul of it. So it's more than just paper and ink. It's an actual representation of the soul of who we are and what we're all about. Therefore, how we treat it reflects on how we treat our Judaism, essentially, or how we do it God. Special. Exactly. Yefeh. More than just carbon and hydrogen, whatever it may be. Yefeh. All right, any other last thoughts about this idea before I... Yes, Howie.
Yeah, so in addition to everything that's been said so far, I think also there's a feeling that we have as individuals when we bury something. So in addition to all of the symbolism,
Yeah.
it's the process of grief. If we bury something in some shape or form, there's that feeling of grief and, remembrance
Yeah.
and feeling and emotion that we go through when something passes, and something else is going to come, but it's still that emotion that we feel.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, going through the burial process, even of a document or of a Torah, really makes us also think about the experience we're going through in our own lives and kind of an issue of, I guess, the sadness, in a sense, the pattern of the emotions that we go through in any burial process. Yefeh. And in fact, on that maybe we'll wrap up here and just say, so as a reminder everyone, so when our religious school is leading up this effort, but really the whole shul, if you have documents with God's name on it, if you have old things like tefillin, which are wrapped around leather, phylacteries, they call them boxes, or other documents, bring them to the shul to be collected in. And what we have is our quote-unquote geniza. And the next few weeks, we actually will be going to bury it. So you'll be hearing more about this, and you'll see the opportunity. You also can come. We have a special space. We're going to actually rent a backhoe and the whole thing. We have an area in the field over here. We're going to do it. And actually some prayers we said similar to the mourner's Kaddish kind of. There's actually some prayers similar to that of our morning prayers, so to speak. And it's an opportunity really to kind of live out our values in the highest way and not done all the time. But that's what Geniza is about. It's about really honoring the fact that our story, our people, our soul comes from these documents. And if you destroy God's image, on some level, you're then sadly making a statement about human beings. They're very interconnected to one another, and we value them at the highest degree. That is the teaching of Geniza. Yasher koach. Awesome job. You can take your texts and put them into your Siddurim. We're going to rise together now on page 184 for Chatzi Kaddish of Musaf. יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה בימד ירחרותי והמליך מלכותי והירון וביום איכון וחייך בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן ישמרה במבורח לעולם ומעלמא יתברך וישתבח ויתברך וירמם וינשא ויתעדה ויתעלה ויתעלל שמר קודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה דוברתה ונחמתה דמירן ויעמה וימרו Amen. So Chevra, our feet together towards Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. 185 through 187, we daven together. The rest is done silent. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Eloi Avotenu v'imotenu Eloi Avraham Eloi Yitzchak Eloi Yaakov Eloi Sarah Eloi Rivka Eloi Vachev Leilea האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומר חסדים טובים וגונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גויה לבני בניהם למען שמו ואהבה מלך חוזר חוקר משיח ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה אתה הגיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה מתים את הרב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם והקל חיים בחסד מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומאיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בגבורות ומדומה לך נלמד ומהיה ומצמיח ישוע ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני והיה המתים נעריצך ונקדישך כזאת שיח דורפי קודש המקדישך המקודש Hakadu Ayan V'yecha V'kara Zilzeh Amar Yadosh Yadosh Kadosh Adonai Tzvaot Melech Haaretz Yevodo Yevodo Ma'aleh Ma'aleh Olam Ma'aleh Olam Kevodo Kevodo Ma'aleh Ma'aleh Olam Ma'aleh Olam Kevodo Kevodo Ma'aleh Ma'aleh Olam Misharada Shoali Shoali Zelaze Ayim Mekom Kevodo Misharada Shoali Shoali Zelaze Ayim Mekom Kevodo Lumatam Baruch Yomeru Baruch Yovanai Mingo Mingo Yivem Verahamim V'yahonam Am Yachadim Shemo Erev HaBoker V'chol Yom Tamid Pamahim Yava Shema Omrim Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echadu Eloheinu Avinu Vayikra Moshienu V'yashmienu V'rahamav She'eni Le'nei Kol Chai Li'od Lahem Le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem U'divrei Ga'adshecha Katuv Le'emor Imloch Enai Le'olam Elayich Zion V'novador Hallelujah V'novador Nagid Kolecha U'netzah Netzachim Kishatcha Nagish V'shichach Elohim B'nishlam Va'ed כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Shamayim Ovares 203. Yikadav Yikadash Shemei Rabbah Yamad Yirachiroteh V'michmachoteh B'chaychon Mechon Uvcher B'Yisrael Bagla V'zman Kariv Yimerum Amei Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorah Leolam U'amei Alma Ya'id Yirbarak V'yishtabach V'yitpar V'yitomam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitavet Shmei Lekudesha B'richu Le'elam Mikol B'chata V'shirata תושבתה ונחמתה, דמרם בימיו ימרו, תתקבץ אותון ואותון לך ישראל, כד והון ושמע וימרו, Yehi Shlam Rabba Mishmaim V'chaim Lev Ko Yisrael V'meru. Amen. Oseh Shlam B'mromav. Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Ko Yisrael Ve'al Ko Yeshvei Tevel V'himeru. 204, our bat mitzvah.
Ein Keloheinu,
Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemov, Ein Kamoshienu, Mi Kadonenu,
Mi Kemocheinu, Mi Kamoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu,
Nodel Adonenu,
Nodel Eloheinu,
Nodel Moshienu,
Baruch Eloheinu,
Baruch Adonenu,
Baruch Malkeinu,
Baruch Moshienu,
Atahu Eloheinu,
Atahu Adonenu,
Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Mashienu,
Atahu Shiktu. Please rise.
Avoteinu,
Lefanecha
Lefanecha
Hasam, Aleinu Leshabeah Ladon Akol, Tegilula Yosef Reshi, Lo Asam Ge'aratzot, Velo Samano Gemishvechot Anama, Shelo Sam Chelkenu Kahem, Velo Raleinu Kechol Hamonam, Vanachnu Korim, Umishtachavim Umodim, Livnei Melech Ve'hamlachim, HaKadosh V'nemar Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, Vayom hahu, Vayom hahu, Niyeh Adonai echad, U'shemo, U'shemo, U'shemo echad. You may be seated. Invite those in mourning observing a yahrzeit this Shabbat. On page 207, I invite you to rise for Kaddish Atom, Mourners Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shamei Rabba, Be'alma divra kirute v'amlich malchute, B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba mevarach leolam olmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yithalal Shmei d'Kodesha Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'yimru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shamaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Be seated, everyone. We now invite our Mitzvah back to the Bima here to give some gifts on behalf of our congregation. Is that going to be Carl's going to give the gifts here? So we invite Carl Munn from the Board of Trustees, and then say on the announcements over here when you're ready. Okay,
Mazel tov. Shabbat shalom. Madelyn, I've known you quite a while. Friday, Shabbat, family services, a long time ago, and now you stand here today. You have shown yourself to be a leader in all aspects of your life. You're a leader on the stage. You're a leader at Girl Scouts. You're a leader for your furry friends. And we are so excited to have you formally as a bar mitzvah today in the community to continue to bring that leadership forward. As you stand here today, we're proud of you. Your family's proud of you. We're all proud of you, as I said. And then to continue on your journey, we have gifts. And this is always the exciting part. Where are the gifts? In this bag, you will find a Tanakh and a certificate of Bima Mitzvah from the Board of Trustees, a tzedakah box from Sisterhood, and a Kiddush cup from your Bima Mitzvah class. We hope that you, that as you bring your Shabbat into your home, you'll remember this special time in your life. You stand here today as an adult member of our congregation, and we are excited to watch you continue your Jewish journey as a member of the Beth Meyer family. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Mazel tov.
See all your gifts. Yep. Take them now. That's also cool. We have here now, okay, careful, it's heavy. Okay, fit. Now, Sam Souls, also on Board of Trustees, to offer some announcements.
Double header, just before baseball season. Hi. So I just wanted to draw your attention to the events. First of all, got to say something about Madelyn. Madelyn, you chanted beautifully. You were spot on your comments. And I found out today you have Southern Jewish heritage, which I share. So, you hit it out of the park today. So much for baseball analogies. I'd like to draw your attention to 3 events that we're having in this upcoming week. They couldn't be more timely, and they're all can be attended on Zoom, or 2 of them can be attended live. The first one is how to address anti-Semitism in the world, the workplace, and even among, quote, friends. You'll probably hear a term, philo-Semite, that you may never have heard of before, but is pretty particularly relevant today. Then a Jewish take on interpersonal ethics, always appropriate. And finally, understanding the Holocaust and why it's relevant today. I think we're going on some pretty good topics for this upcoming week and invite you all to participate. Thank you.
Awesome. Good job. Awesome. Remind everybody, of course, we have meeting tomorrow at 9. Rabbi Jenny's Zooming at 7:30 and Wednesday at 5:30. A couple of things I just want to announce here. We have a couple of little congregational things going on. So first of all, we have a birthday boy in the house. Josh Holmes is turning 40. Is that right, Josh? Mazel tov. As we say, 40 is a big number, okay? And, we say in our tradition, I'll be 120 like Moses, healthy, okay? Healthy and happy. We're so glad that his amazing wife is here, his mom is here, Josh. We're so psyched to have you as part of the Beth Meyer family and your family. Mazel tov. Really, be healthy and psyched for Josh and Jessica coming to Israel this summer on our trip. A lot of people are coming as well, about 25 people or so. It's going to be awesome. Mazel tov to you, brother, okay? Healthy. We'll make a l'chaim in a second, all right? We also have our newest member straight from New Jersey, Howie and Carol. We make you stand up. I know you've done before, but they just joined literally this week. Just say a word where you guys are come from most recently. You guys are?
So we're from Hudson, the Hudson Valley in upstate
right.
New York.
Oh, sorry.
We have a bungalow there. Grew up in Queens and Valley Street, Long Island. Really thankful and gratitude to be here and part of the community.
We're awesome. We're so glad to have you guys here. Welcome again. Welcome in. Aside from the wonderful family and friends who are here special, is there anyone else outside of the family and friends special, just who's here shul shopping or first time at Beth Meyer, who's checking out Beth Meyer or new-ish in that way? Please, Vayakhei-Pekudei. Will you right up and who are you? Never heard of it. Where's it from? Oh, yeah. Great. We're glad to have you with us. Durham. It's okay. The other side. All right. Vayakhei-Pekudei. Who's in the back there? Who are you guys?
I'm Ruth Lasher.
Awesome. Where are you guys from? Wonderful, Mazda. But, all of our synagogues are now north of New York City. So where exactly are you from? Westchester?
South Salem, New York, which is in Westchester County.
Wait, which town?
South Salem.
Oh, South Salem, of course. Kabbalat, of course. Yeah, we know you're going to find half your communities down here. It's good to have you. All right, welcome. We're glad to have you with us. Wonderful. Unlike this Bar Mitzvah who has local roots, all right, most of us are transplants in the Jewish community. All right. Anybody else? Wonderful. Okay, with that, we're going to wrap up our B Mitzvah. Bar Mitzvah is going to come forward with the class for Adon Olam, page 211. Adon Olam asher malav eterem go yitzir nira li'et nasa efsoko azai melech demoni gravia hare yiglotako levado im lo nora v'hu haya v'hu oved v'hu yeh v'tifara v'hu echad v'ein sheni להמשיך לו להחבירה ולרשי ולתכלית ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי בעת צרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי Please rise. בידו אבי ברוכי, בעת אישן והעירה
Shabbat Shalom, Social Hall, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov.